the NSF and all of these grant-making agencies have done exactly what we're describing for, at least a decade now. And so I will say that the NSF and NIH and all of the major grant-giving organizations have gone outside the parameters of the basic research goals that they were originally set up for. And so it is raising questions that are old questions, not new questions.
One other thing that I should mention, just this is such an important part of the letter, is that securing ideological diversity is, on the one hand, I think in principle, a very good idea. You don't want to have echo chambers. You don't want to have ideological monocultures. Generally speaking, I oversimplify here, but generally speaking, ideological diversity is pretty valuable to doing good research. I'm skeptical of claims of racial diversity and such. I think they're often overstated, but ideological diversity very much. And one test of that is, of course, I think people uncontroversially say, like, you want to put on a conference or a panel on something, just make sure you have people from both sides or many sides. That's a more interesting panel to go to than if everybody is taking the same view. This having been said, actually setting up ideological diversity rules and then enforcing them on the government's part might itself pose important First Amendment problems, because then you have to kind of decide, like, what kind of ideological diversity qualifies. What if the chemistry department does not hire someone who endorses the flagon theory of fire? Well, is that ideologically undiverse? Well, yes, I suppose, but there's good reason, I'm told.
The competence versus viewpoint.
Let's say that, for example, you look at a department and the department says, well, we're super ideologically diverse. We have people from Bernie Sanders supporters all the way to Kamala Harris supporters. Well, that is maybe different views in some measure, but you'd say, well, that's not good ideological diversity. But let's say it does have kind of some conservatives, some liberals, some moderates. Some says, well, you don't have any socialists. That's not ideologically diverse enough. Or you don't have any outright fascists, let's say people who actually endorse Mussolini's perspective, not just people being called fascists. Well, presumably, among other things, you don't want to get like a situation where there are 10 faculty members in your department and there are boxes, like you can only fill them by the box. Well, this is the socialist slot or whatever else. So it may be that these kinds of ideological diversity rules, if enforced by the government, including by the threat of removal funds, may actually be too likely to be viewpoint-based in implementation, too vague in some respects also as well, which may lead to viewpoint discrimination, that they may be impermissible. Interesting and important question. But in any event, I'm just not sure that there's really any statutory authority for the government to say, as to all of these funds, which we've already allocated, we're just going to cut them off because now we have this ideological diversity crisis.